hosting this. I know people have come from all over here to your hometown of Oxford, and they're just so happy to be here to celebrate Nick and sweet Melissa. I want to thank Ron and Jan for all that you did to contribute to this weekend. And that includes raising Nick, which God knows that was not easy. So I met Nick about 20 years ago. We were freshmen in college. Nick was very outgoing, probably the most popular guy in our class. I didn't know anyone freshman year, and I was sitting by myself for the first week in the cafeteria. Until one day Nick noticed that I was sitting by myself, and he came over and invited me to sit at his table. And I sat at that table for the next 4 years, and Nick and I have been friends ever since. Spoken about every day, despite going our separate ways after high school. But that's the type of guy Nick is. He's caring, thoughtful. He's the most loyal friend I know. And he was well known for that at St. Charles. Just one day, the principal of St. Charles received a letter. It was a couple-page letter from a woman who had been a stranded motorist on the side of the road, and no one was stopping to help her change her tire. But then this one man stopped. And he was good-looking, and he very polite, and he helped her change her tire, and she was forever changed by that gesture, and so much so that she wrote this letter to the principal, and the principal was so affected by that he read the letter to the entire student body. Now, it took a few months for some conspiracy theories to develop, and one of those was that Nick actually wrote that letter. However, no one doubted that Nick actually stopped and helped the stranded motorist. I do want to say a few words about love as well. Nick has informed me that I'm the least qualified person in this room to give a speech about love and happiness because I'm the only one of his guy friends that's still single. But I disagree. I think I am very qualified to talk about love because I've had a front row seat in watching your courtship, and I've learned many lessons from you too. One of the lessons was love requires patience and perseverance. In Corinthians, love is patient. We saw that with how Nick and sweet Melissa met 5 years ago here in Oxford. It was at a house party. And sweet Melissa, you must have made quite an impression on Nick because he didn't waste any time walking up to you and asking you out. And Nick, you must have made quite an impression on sweet Melissa because she said no. But you waited, you were perseverant. You had patience, you waited 3 hours, and you asked her again. And this time she had a chance to really see more of who you were, had a few more drinks. And this time she again said no. But you had perseverance and you waited a year and you chatted on Facebook and eventually you drove all the way out to Oxford to take her out on your first date for lunch. Patience and perseverance. And sweet Melissa, I'm so glad that you went on that date because I can't imagine a better person for Nick than you. I have really enjoyed getting to know you, especially over the last 2 years when you lived in Columbus. We've done street protests together. I had my first manicure with sweet Melissa when Nick was out of town. And to Melissa's credit, I was nervous, and so we went to a bar next to Charles Penza and had a shot together. That's the kind of person that she is. But Nick is a very unique individual. He's like a snowflake. Like it takes a lot to. One thing I admire about you is that you don't just tolerate Nick, and you don't try to change him. You embrace Nick, and you bring out his best self. And I've seen Nick's best self when he's with you, and I think that says a lot about who you are. If someday you do decide to try to change him, I think there are a lot of people in this room that would be supportive. So the last thing I'll say, Nick doesn't like to talk about his feelings very much. So I was surprised one day when I got a phone call. And Nick was serious. And he said, I've got this feeling. It was about a year into their courtship. He said, I've got this feeling and I think it's love. I think it's love. Or it could be gas. But what I knew, and what I knew Nick knew, but what I knew by the way that Nick had talked about Sweet Melissa, by the way they looked at each other, and I knew Nick deep down, it was absolutely love. And it was gas. It was both. So whether you're feeling love or gas tonight, I'd like to raise a toast to Nick and Sweet Melissa, to a lifetime of love and happiness.